Welcome to the last talk of the day. My friend Kevin Murphy is going to be giving, he's repeat speaker also for Blue Ridge. He's giving this closing day one talk. This is like a wild card talk for me. Even on the submission, there were many mysteries about this talk. So I'm very interested to know what this one's about. But I've always enjoyed Kevin's talks. I think I first saw him at RubyConf Mini in Providence a few years back. I think that's probably the first place I saw you. Yeah, and have been enjoying following his work ever since. What else should I say? I guess I don't know. I guess you have a new title. At least that's what it looked like in your introduction on the Slack. So everybody, give it away for Kevin.
I want to thank you all for being here and joining us at Hours Unlimited. Congratulations on joining the company. We are super excited to have you joining us here at this critical moment. You've already heard from many of our team members, and I want to take a second to thank them all again, so give them a round of applause. It's my honor to end the day with you, and I want to get started by taking a picture of everybody. So everyone, join in. Take a few. Okay, one of those is probably okay. So listen, I want to get started here. Obviously, you've all made the choice to join us, but I want to tell you what gets me most excited about coming to work every day at Hours Unlimited. And it is, of course, considering our official company conundrum, what will you do with all the time in the world? And now that you've chosen to join us here, I can tell you a little bit about what it is you'll be doing with all your time. And that is unlocking the potential to add business value for users, unconstrained by the hours in the day. It will take a lot of dedicated work from all of us to make this happen. We operate on a strict 996 working hour system, so you'll be seeing a lot of each other. But really, it's only through this dedication that you will have the honor of shepherding in the future, which is, of course, computers engaging in all of humanity's greatest artistic pursuits. So thank you for coming to join us, saving the world from the toil that is blank page syndrome and critical thinking, and enter a future where anyone has access to all of the world's knowledge from anywhere in the world. Fortunately, we're not quite there yet. And we believe this kind of groundbreaking paradigm shift can only be achieved through strict in-office work. And moreover, being able to achieve this kind of remote collaboration probably isn't going to be possible till well after we achieve true AGI. Which is, of course, what we're all working towards, and by our latest predictions will be in about 3 months or so. But the time is certainly not right now, and as a result, we have no remote work and no exceptions. All of our work, all of our meetings take place virtually, and that's important because that allows me to join any meeting at a moment's notice from wherever I am in the world, which may be Austin, or San Francisco, or Miami. See, I need to be able to meet with luminaries in these tech hubs because, let's be honest, those VC checks, they're not going to write themselves. But that is on our roadmap. Now, as a result of doing all this work, I'm rarely in the office, so you're welcome, I'm here. I'm typically only here for these onboarding sessions, and they're really something that I get excited about joining, so thank you all for being here. But don't fear, if you need to get in touch with me, you can do so through my AI agent assistant, which is pre-installed on all of your work machines. It saves me a ton of time, and it gives you constant access to me. If my agent assistant can't answer your question to its satisfaction, it'll schedule a meeting at a time of its choosing for the two of us to actually get together. And remember, we're all in this together, all in the office. You might notice that we're not on the same floor with the rest of our unlimiters, and that's because we rent this space just for these onboarding sessions, and that's because our floor contains no meeting rooms. We have a full open floor plan for maximum collaboration. We encourage you to sit wherever you'd like, but don't get too comfortable because every desk is a hot desk. So where you're sitting is going to change from day to day, who you're sitting with is going to change from day to day, and the accommodations in that desk are going to change from day to day. And we believe that this allows us to be maximally nimble in such a collaborative environment. Now, that being said, all communication should take place on a company-approved virtual platform. That is important because our agents are first-class citizens here, so they need to be able to participate in all the conversations. But we remain on site for the collaborative gains. The excitement that we generate in this office cannot be replicated anywhere else, except for Austin, or San Francisco, or Miami sometimes. Now, I'm sure you all know what we do, but just to lay a foundation, through our work, we open up unlimited hours to power business operations. But we don't minimize the amount of time that humans spend powering business operations. See, we want to maintain a strict human touch to enable a world where computers have access to human consciousness, but we want to do so in a way that doesn't reduce our total addressable market. That may seem like a bit of a contradiction to you, but I assure you that it's not. And if you want some external validation of that, I encourage you to re-review your generous equity grants that accompany your offer letter and look at our valuation, which is very real and very much based on the value that we're providing to the world. But look, in terms of what we provide to society, it's more than just the value that our users see. It's about promise and potential. We're providing optimism. And the way that we do that, at our core, we leverage our investments, utilize best-in-class computing power that is backed by privatized world-class energy sources, and we make that available to users through the use of tokens. Tokens which are very much different from real money. But given a token and a query, we provide answers. Now, are they the right answers? That's up to our users to decide. We maintain zero liability toward the veracity of our answers. But remember, the answers aren't the value we are providing to society. It's promise, potential, and optimism. And we do that through our flagship product, powerfuLLMachine. You know, for far too long as an industry, we have constrained ourselves by naming our products and companies by dropping vowels, making ourselves appear smaller than they actually are and take up less space. But in this brave new world where we're adding value, we are adding consonants to our names. Now, I'm told all of you are going to be joining our math and numbers division, and that is terrific because together we'll redefine the importance of numerals, and we'll do so one prompt at a time. Of course, we build powerfuLLMachine with powerfuLLMachine, but we couldn't do that without hiring each and every single one of you. So that a computer can build a better computer, thanks to the humans who do it, like all of you, but that's not a very interesting story. Let's talk about the computer, and in fact, let's go through a demo of powerfuLLMachine. And we'll do so using some examples of some things you all might encounter in your time in the Math and Numbers division. I want to start by introducing you to your constant pairing partner, PowerPrompt. PowerPrompt also pre-installed on all your company machines, and you can see with just some brief configuration, it automatically knows your name and is ready to tackle the day to handle whatever it is that you want to work on together. So let's ask it to give us the slope of a line. It seems like a math and numbers thing. And PowerPrompt immediately responds with exactly what you asked for. Technically correct, the best kind. It may not have been what you wanted, but it is what you asked for. And now it's your responsibility to iterate on that. Modify what it is you're asking the system to provide. We don't want it to return the slope of a line, we want it to calculate the slope of a line. And PowerPrompt, it can do that too. So we want you to continue to make small changes to your prompt so that you can understand what it is that's driving the behavior behind PowerPrompt. So I'm going to start at the top and say, I'm concerned with the name of this method. So the only change I'm going to make to the prompt is just talking about the name of the method. And by doing this, PowerPrompt responds appropriately. Now look, when you go through this cycle, you may come up in some like negative feedback loop where things just aren't going your way. And it's okay to start over again. It's easy with PowerPrompt. It's happy to forget. You might say, it never remembered to begin with. So let's give it a more detailed prompt to ask it to calculate the slope of a line. And given that, it gives us some sort of equation, which looks like math, so it's probably right. But it's still not exactly what we want. Because if you look at this method signature, it's accepting x, y coordinates. And we want it to provide a point object. So we want to be more specific in our interface design. So we'll clarify that with PowerPrompt and give it a little more information about what exactly it is that we want. And PowerPrompt is happy to take care of that for us. So now we have a viable implementation. But I don't want you to stop there. I encourage you to stop and experiment. Think about other ways that you could deliver this functionality. Conceptualize what it would mean to bring this into production. Or just have PowerPrompt do it. It can spit back a bunch of math. I don't know, maybe you all in the math and numbers division get this, but it's not for me, so I'm willing to just go back to what we had before, and PowerPrompt, totally cool with that. But we're still not done, because I know there is another scenario we have to take care of, and that is that the slope of a vertical line is undefined. That's right, I could be in the math and numbers division too, I'm just choosing not to be. So we need to tell PowerPrompt what we want it to do in that case. PowerPrompt adds a guard clause and takes care of it for us. And this is incredible. Right? PowerPrompt handled this implementation all by itself. The days of coding by hand are over. Could you imagine writing those 4 lines by yourself? Never again. But we're not done. I'm sure you've seen the press releases, maybe some of you are in the beta, but I want to introduce you to the rest of your team, powerfuLLMachine Rumble. This is, of course, our set of autonomous agents, and that can handle a little bit larger of a task. So we're going to ask it to complete an entire feature and develop a dashboard that tracks the team's progress over time. And while that's working in the background, I want to share with you a bunch of documentation we've written that Rumble uses with every single prompt. It's a series of markdown files. The first is called background. And these are the qualifications that we expect powerfuLLMachine to have to complete a task. So these might be things like certain philosophies we want it to be aware of and to use, technologies to be specific about, and ways we want it to think about how to handle certain problems. We also have a motivation file. And this demonstrates what drives the agent to achieve its goal. These are going to be things like considering the software development life cycle, being aware of the design's impact on the overall application architecture, and doing the impossible, not writing code that already exists in the code base. Even for dependencies, even when it would be super easy to just write it over again. We have a guardrails file, and these are incredibly important instructions that absolutely must be followed. Things like making sure that no secret information gets into the source code repository, likely as a result of a user putting it in a prompt, or making sure that all of our changes actually work. This would be things like making sure that we don't deprive our human developers the opportunity to read Rumble's perfect code before it gets into production. And don't worry about this last one, it's not a very interesting story. We also have a preferences file. These are standards that we like to live by, but it's a little squishier. We understand some variability might exist. So in here, we talk about what sorts of tests we like to write and how we like to write them. We share the way that we like to communicate about the work we're doing with our other developers and what information should be in there. And we talk about how we actually get this into production in a way that quickly and carefully handles the code. You're going to get used to this. This is great, especially on the open floor plan. You're going to be seeing and hearing this a lot. This is Rumble telling us that it has produced a change set. And when we hear this and see this, it's important that we stop whatever it is we're doing and review it quickly. And that's because there are probably going to need to be some changes, likely as a result of a failure in the prompt that we wrote. And the more quickly that we do this, the quicker that code gets into production. And that's important. We want this code to be serving our users. Now, there are also technical limitations and reasons why we want to be quick about this. Rumble's context, the set of instructions that it used, the way it was thinking about what it was doing, we keep track of that and we store that, but only for a short period of time before we blow it away to make space for future prompts, like perhaps every 30 days. When Rumble produces a change set, we also put into something called review mode. And this is because we are so confident in the code that Rumble produces, we know that there's likely only to be small changes that are needed. So we give it access to a limited amount of our compute power, saving our compute for fresh prompts that Rumble hasn't developed a change set for. So let's take a look at some code that Rumble has produced for us here. We have a nice tidy little diff, and we'll look specifically at one file and give some examples about how to interact with Rumble in this situation. The most important thing to do with Rumble is to provide clear and direct feedback. Tell it exactly what it is you want it to do, why, and how. And this is important because when Rumble receives this information, it's going to go back and do its best to interpret what it is you're asking for and produce a new change set. And we want to make sure that that is correct. It's also important that we tell Rumble whether it absolutely needs to do something or this is just a nice to have. So like this is Ruby, we can have 700 statements on one line separated by a semicolon and it's perfectly valid. This reviewer just happens to prefer that we separate them out so they can read them better, but Rumble doesn't have to do that. The code works totally fine. So we want to tell it that it's optional. And this is important because remember, Rumble's in review mode. And in review mode, it needs to intelligently balance all the things that it must do against the things that it could possibly do with its limited compute power. We also need to tell Rumble when it did something that we like. So here, Rumble used the slope method that we worked together with PowerPrompt on. And that's awesome. Right? This is important because this qualitative feedback is pushed back into the training corpus for powerfuLLMachine, building a flywheel so that it better knows how to respond to what we're looking for and we better know what to expect from it. And of course, we encourage you to ask questions of Rumble. Right? When you ask a question, Rumble will retrieve its context and immediately respond with an answer that will justify the choices that it made. And will share some resources that it used to help you get onto its level technically. And it will highlight some other approaches that it could have considered and ultimately explain the trade-offs and why it went with the approach that it did. Now look, I understand that for many of you, Hours Unlimited is just one stop on the journey that is your entire career. And for many more of you, your time in the math and numbers division will be limited because we have so many exciting opportunities available to you throughout the organization. But whether you're here for a short amount of time or for a long amount of time, this is all incredibly important information for you because we're all human. And everything that we did with PowerPrompt, I want you to consider incorporating into how you handle your active development, however it is that you produce code. Build something to the best of your ability. That's all you can do to start with. You're going to learn more as you get through that process, and that's okay. Build on it from there. When you're making those changes, make them small so that you can understand what the change was that drove the system impact that you're seeing. It's okay if all your code doesn't get into production. It's okay to start over again. That's not wasted work. It's not wasted time. It was necessary to get you to where you need to go. Be specific about your interface design and your ins and outs and what you're expecting. And once you have something that you feel is working, take the opportunity to explore. Think about if there's a different way that you could solve this problem. Maybe consider if there's a new language feature that you haven't used before that could help with this. Or a new way that other people are doing this similar things in the code base. Even if that code doesn't get into production, that is important for the rest of your career. You are learning about how to use a tool, you are learning about how you like to learn, and you are learning to develop your own taste. Of course, be mindful of edge cases and what you are considering and are not considering. And ultimately, give yourself the same grace and freedom that someone might provide to a prompt. You are worthy of it. With Rumble, we talked about a lot of documentation we had built up to help support it. And these all map to team and company expectations. our background file, it's a job description. When was the last time you considered what your job description is? Even if you pulled up what it is that you had when you applied for a particular job, it's probably pretty different from what it is you actually do. And I encourage you to think about what it would look like to write a job description for you yourself in your current role. Not to replace yourself either with the other person or a computer, but so that you, if no one else, understands the very specific value that you bring to the team. Our motivation file is our career goals. Our job descriptions demonstrates where we are today, and our career goals chart a course for tomorrow. And by enumerating them, we can map over them and start to understand what ability we have to start to grow in those areas in our current role. And by having them written down, we can share them with management to start to provide an opportunity there and lean on them to help support us in that. Our guardrails file is the important but perhaps boring policies and procedures. And I encourage each and every one of us to be involved in the creation and upkeep of these, but really lean on leadership to make sure that these exist, make sure that they're reasonable, make sure that they're updated, and make sure that they're enforced fairly. Our preferences file. These are team norms. Things that we've written down as tacit, if not explicit, agreement that we all agree to uphold these values. Easily shareable so that people can learn about them, whether they're folks that we don't work with regularly or new members of the team. Don't set people off on an expedition just to come back and tell them, well, actually, that's not how we do things here. Just tell them. If you do it for a computer, do it for your team. Now, once Rumble produced a change set and we needed to review it, we talked about it's important to do so quickly because there are probably going to be changes and we want to make sure that code gets into production as quickly as possible. And none of that has anything to do with where that code came from. Even the technical limitations in Rumble exist regardless of the source. Our working memory is only available for so long. And once we've delivered work, our focus goes elsewhere. I don't know about you, but when I produce a change, I don't sit around and wait for someone to review it. My attention goes to the next item in the backlog, or checking my email, or reviewing someone else's code. And given that that's the case, when you review code, help authors get back into the mindset that they had when they were writing the code and make it as easy as possible for them to deliver their work. And you can do so by providing clear and direct feedback. By telling someone if you feel strongly about something, or if this is a nice to have or a thing to have a conversation about. Tell people when they did a good job. Don't let great code just scroll by silently in a review. Highlight it, comment it, celebrate it. People aren't going to know otherwise. And of course, ask questions of the code that's being reviewed. But don't stop at asking questions so that you feel comfortable with this code being into production. If you're using code review solely as a quality gate, you're leaving a ton of value on the table. Code review is an invitation to a discussion. And regardless of what happens to the code being reviewed, there is value in the process of doing the review itself. Code review is an opportunity to learn from each other. It's a chance for all of us to build an understanding about how it is that we like to work independently and with one another. To gain an understanding of what sort of trade-offs a person considers and holds dear, what alternatives they think are interesting to think about, what stylistic choices they make when they write code, what sort of things they're working on and what their career goals are and how we can help reinforce that through the code review process. We can take all these things and build a little Venn diagram about how we like to work and how they like to work and keep track of what the similarities and differences are. And we can keep storing that in the back of our mind, a little mental Rolodex, so that while we're continuing to work with these folks, we can form deep working relationships. And this is critical because look, Rumble doesn't have your back, even though it's working in the background. And PowerPrompt doesn't know what you're asking it. It's just guessing at the best way to respond. Any LLM is only as powerful as the operator sitting in front of it, and Hours Unlimited isn't really trying to save you time. even though perhaps short-sightedly, that does happen from time to time. And given that information, it's important that we, the people in this room, take care of each other. As an industry, we've been so willing to invest money and attention and time and documentation to improve our automated development tools. Why haven't we been willing to do that for ourselves? You may hear choruses of things like, well, by doing this, this also benefits the human operators, and it's a win-win situation. But why were we only motivated to make that change when it would also benefit a computer? What does that tell us about what we actually value? No. We've got to take care of each other. And look, it's weird out there. Right? Professionally, personally, politically, culturally. It's not great for a great number of people a great amount of the time. And it can be hard to see instances of the world of people caring about each other. And it can be hard to feel cared for personally. I get it. But if you take anything away from our onboarding session here today, other than congratulations on your new job, I hope that it's this. I want you to seriously consider my hypothesis that I firmly believe to be true. And that is that someone cares about you. Thank you.